reparations, and they don't even want to talk about equity. I mean, we may differ in what justice means, but I think that everybody, wants justice. In terms of peace building, I think that that's necessary to have a conversation about what justice looks like. And during these times that we've been particularly focused on Palestine, I think justice comes up a lot right there. And it really kind of makes me think about enslavement and how the plantation owners or the slave masters were able to justify what they were doing. And how can you, how can you justify that? How can you justify bombing children today? They didn't do anything to you, the Africans didn't do anything to be beaten to death, to be starved to death. The schools, our schools in Alachua County, I mean, they could spend some reparation money right there, but instead, they build new schools in places that they don't even need them. I live in Alachua County. Alachua County has, if we're not at the lowest, we have 67 counties, I think. And Alachua County is like 66 or 67 for having the widest learning gap in the state. It's quite prevalent in my community. There were only 2 schools in East Gainesville, which is code for the Black community, who did not receive more than a D in the state testing. Their math and science, there's like really big gaps. And whereas I do like to talk to people about the problems, one of my mottos is no participation, no right to observation. If you're not going to do something about a problem, then don't talk about it. So in order to get talking rights, I do something. And what I did was I started science clubs in East Gainesville. Our theme is science is fun, whether we're talking about chemistry, whether we're talking about physics, entomology, whatever, astronomy, whatever, it's fun. So we've had up to 10 clubs. This is our 11th year. And the kids really enjoy it. I get to be with the George Washington Carver Science Club each week. And we have almost perfect attendance at each of our science meetings. The kids really love science. Because we make games out of it. I tell people I'm not responsible. I have volunteers who come and talk to the kids, not so much talk to them as bring in activities that the kids can participate in. It's not necessary for them to remember terms. They'll hear that in class later on, but they'll recognize what those terms are because they've actually experienced that particular science lesson. I am from a very small rural community about 30 miles east of Gainesville called Grandin. I lived with my grandparents as a child, and they had over 100 acres of farmland, for which we were fortunate enough to be able to roam all through. I think that's where my appreciation for the environment, that experience has allowed me to understand better about the many opportunities that nature gives to us, like life, water, air. I was able to appreciate a lot of all of that with no fear as a child. So it's hard for me to wrap my hands around children who have to be careful about what water they drink or the air that they breathe, causing them illnesses, serious illnesses. So for the environmental work, that kind of like just played into that. As a child, I had no idea that this would be a part of my path moving forward. Like I said, I lived in a rural community, so during my teen years, what I call my stupid years, I wanted to do I wanted to party, and there was nowhere in the country to party. So I would go to what we call juke joints between Grandin and Gainesville. I probably have visited every juke joint within 100-mile radius, actually, of Grandin. That's where I learned to dance at and enjoy the dancing. When I moved to Gainesville, I was fortunate enough. Well, one, I got through with the stupid years without being killed or maimed or anything. Came out pretty good. I was fortunate enough to meet up with a group of people, and it was a real diverse group who were working on community issues like the unfair treatment of Blacks by police in the community. I remember being involved with a group. We were involved with trying to get this guy off from going to prison because the one police came into the community, they turned the lights off, and they were shooting at one person and actually shot a police officer. So we were trying to get the guy off because they charged him. They said if it had not been for him, the police would not have been in the neighborhood. So that kind of got jump started me there, and I went from there to doing voter registration, to setting up programs in the community where we wouldn't need to have the police to come in, that neighbors could talk to neighbors and take care of whatever problems that there were. So I was very fortunate to become acquainted with this group of people. We all decided that we wanted to talk about, when we talked about gentrification of a historic Black community, and this is a community that African Americans came and created after being released from the local plantations like Hill Plantation. They set up a community, they created schools. So this community was the community that we were really, really, really concerned about. So we used the arts to bring the people together, singing, dancing, poetry, food. We had a person who had a food truck. This is back in 1979. Food trucks, we didn't call them that. They were food on wheels maybe, but not food trucks. But he not only had some of the best barbecue in town, but he was a playwright and a poet. So he came and parked his food trailer, and he performed on stage. So that was our first year, and we've done that festival ever since. Sad to say that we are one of the few organizations that's still left in this historic community. If you had been there prior to 5 years ago, you would not recognize the community now. It's pretty much white and students. Housing, and for one bedroom is like $1,500. And you know the way that they build them, they're not building them for the family. So these people who lived in this historic community can no longer afford to live there. They've even built $300,000, $400,000, well, even and up thousands of dollars for housing in that community. So once again, we're talking about people who was working for the University of Florida or Santa Fe or Shands hospital or services that they do. These people could not afford to live there, so they've been gentrified out. My organization is housed in a 101-year-old building. It was built as a fire station, but was only used for a couple years as a fire station because of racial relations, income lines now, and then that works out to people of color just being on the bottom of the income level in Gainesville. So housing, there's little to no affordable housing. There was an attempt to have some housing go up, but that didn't happen recently. We have an environmental problem. There's a landfill in East Gainesville. It's been there for over 40 years. When they set it up, they said that they were going to go 2 feet up on it, and that they would repair, mitigate. There was actually a dump there before then, so they should have cleaned that up before they started another one. So now here we are 40 years later. The owners are asking the state to let them go up to 75 feet. They're at 35 right now. It's in a neighborhood, the water is at risk. It's in East Gainesville. I won't say luckily, but there are some white people who live around there who have been doing some really, really good work in terms of trying to make that shut it down. So yeah, we have ancient problems in Gainesville. After doing the festival, we started our youth programs. And what started out as an enrichment program is now a summer employment program for teenagers. And we recently, in the last couple of weeks, expanded that program into an internship program where we have teenagers who are being introduced to green jobs and careers. I'm also the chair of the NAACP Environmental and Climate Justice Committee. I am now their Environmental and Climate Justice Chair, and I do that because I saw an opportunity to educate people who look like me about the responsibilities of taking care of what I call the stuff that the Creator made: the air, the water, the food. So it gives me that opportunity. Prior to that, I've been going to environmental meetings for probably 30 years, and I was the only Black person in the room for decades, and I didn't even know a lot of what they were talking about because they used the environmental terminology, and it's not for the street everyday people. But I knew that I was supposed to be there. I was supposed to be a part of it, so I continued to go. So this being in NAACP gives me that opportunity to take what I've learned and to bring that to my community. We meet monthly. I've been doing this for 7 years, and we always have over 12, 13 people there, and we're people who look like me are still in the minority, but it's people who are doing a lot of this work that get an opportunity to bring that work into my community. We've sponsored several community forums where there's definitely been a good showing of people who look like me, in addition to the white environmentalists. When I put programs together, I try to start out from environmental programs together. I start out from a cultural perspective. So I've tried to have Native Americans to open it up because they seem to have grasped that responsibility for the environment for a very long time, and they practiced it. It's a part of their tradition. So I asked either they do open up our programs, or I have someone who is a Ghanaian who does libation to open it up to talk about the earth, so that people know that that's what what we're going to be doing in this program, whether it be housing, whether it be climate change, whether it be food, whatever it is, it's going to be about taking care of doing something good for the earth. I deal with environmental issues that I feel are relevant to my community. And I've been, blessed. I did do this job without getting paid, and during that time, I took my first trip to Africa, to the continent of Senegal. I traveled to China and was a part of the women's conference there. I've had lots of opportunity. I've traveled the country, and a lot of that was done when I wasn't getting paid, but I was just in the right place, doing the right thing. As we lose our schools, we also lose that sense of traditions and cultural programming. We're just trying to survive.